the Knicks, and this is Knicks at Night. I'll say season 2 at once.
Season 2!
And also they'll do live from New York. It's Knicks at Night! Woo! Woo! Great. All right.
You're up. Cover it. Take me?
Yeah, you take a seat.
Oh, here we go.
No, it's supposed to be loose, Daniel. Loose, keep it loose. Keep it snappy and loose. All right, up first for the evening is Nick Gregorio. Please, give it up for Nick Gregorio.
What's up? I'm basically Corey Matthews in my whole life, so I'm nervous as hell. Watch one of these world, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys look a little younger than I'm used to. Anyway, hi. I'm going to read the first chapter from my new book that's coming out in June. It's called Launch Me to the Stars. I'm finished here, and I hope you enjoy it very much. Well, we'll see. Everything was blue. The walls, the furniture, Loonsfoot's white lab coat, blue from the device in the center of the room humming, spinning, which would, according to Loonsfoot, tunnel through the universe and give them a glimpse of Regis 132. Astrid had only seen a photo of the place. Grainy, blurry, a field, a building in the distance, pink skies, not the kind of pink from a sunset, but in place of the blue on a clear day. The tall grass almost violet, sort of glowing, shimmering somethings at the tips of the blades, and the building or tower or monolith out of focus. Bulbous but sleek, rounded but geometrically complex, maybe not even built, grown. Loonsfoot, over the increasing noise of the machine, said, "You put your sunscreen on, yeah? The Kuhlmann barrier will put off as much radiation as the sun on a summer day," Astrid said. SPS 50, even under these. She tapped her goggles that were definitely going to leave creases on the bridges of her nose, her cheekbones. Didn't matter how many bunion cushions she stuck to them. Happened every time. She'd bought sunglasses almost as big as the goggles from the dollar store just so she wouldn't have to explain the marks to Cassie. The sunglasses were hideous. She'd lied about them being in style, lied that she needed to borrow the bunion cushions because of her school's ridiculous dress code, lied about where she was, lied about how well the therapy sessions with Loonsfoot had been going. And Cassie believed all of it, which made it easier and worse. "Fabulous," Loonsfoot said, louder now that the humming had shaken bits of plaster and dust into her red hair. Loonsfoot had always seemed to give off something, Loonsfoot always seemed to have something in her hair or on her clothes or smeared on her face. Even the first time she popped her head into Astrid's hospital room, she'd had Doritos orange dusted into the corners of her mouth. "Switch on the collider for me, yeah?" Astrid, in front of a panel of dials, switches, glowing glass pimples ringed in silver, clicked on a finger-greased, discolored exclamation point labeled, "The switch only to be switched once so instructed," in masking tape and Sharpie. The rig could have come straight off the original USS Enterprise set, wooden-looking, painted black, chipping on top, hot rod red on the sides. But that was where the comparison ended. Otherwise, there was a jellyfish worth of wires, cables, and plugs hanging from the bottom, spilling onto the floor, fanning out in 100 different directions to other panels, consoles, and power sources, all connected to integral systems, according to Loonsfoot, all certainly, most definitely, running on some form of electricity, according to Astrid. Fireworks of sparks from a rat's nest of wire, the humming now a steady rumble, smoke alarm bleeping, bleeping, and bleeping, Loonsfoot running this way and that, tweaking that and this, Astrid watching, following instructions that were yelled over the sound, spinning the dial to maximum output, flicking a series of switches, needing to catch her breath as the machine made everything a deeper blue than before, a shade deeper than that even. She wasn't sure, couldn't be, but when she was young, she had asked Cassie about the feeling in her belly during her fourth birthday party, same one from Christmas morning, walking through the front gates of the Magic Kingdom that one time, plugging earbuds into her ears and dancing home from school, getting picked up from school early to catch a matinee before Cassie had to work the night shift at the diner. Cassie had said, "Butterflies." That. Astrid had that. Those. Maybe. She couldn't remember. Not fully, at least. The house could have fallen down around them. All the work they'd done and Astrid wouldn't have noticed. Bolts of energy could have gotten burped out of that machine, blowing holes through walls, the ceiling, the floors, and there would have been nothing but the lightness in her gut. That thing could have atomized them both, and she would have been afraid to go. Wouldn't have been afraid to go. Except, this time, She wouldn't want to. If that were it, she'd hope a beam of blue would blow open her stomach first so she could see them, the butterflies, dancing in the air as the house came down. But nothing collapsed. There was no violent reaction from the machine that, according to Loonsfoot, was tearing a hole in the universe to give them a glimpse of another world, aside from its foundation-shaking energy output, anyway. At least not before Loonsfoot came into view, waving her arms, snapping her gloved fingers in front of Astrid's goggles, saying something that could have been anything. Astrid was bumped aside. Light hip check, a wink, a smile, and Loonsfoot went to work. Like the way Astrid was taught to play Space Invaders and Galaga and Asteroids at the arcade in Sea Isle City that probably been turned into condos by now. Day trip to the beach, hot dogs at the arcade, body surfing as the sun set, McDonald's on the ride home, more butterflies. Loonsfoot took Astrid's hand, pointed toward a red button on the console and nodded. Astrid balled up a fist and hit the button. And silence. The heat was everything. Sweat under Astrid's arms, on her forehead, underneath her lead apron, enough to begin moving toward the door. Figure a clear exit out the front door because she'd have to sprint into the light to get to the back. Loonsfoot said, "Wait, this is normal, but I don't want you to miss this." Loonsfoot had a habit of fusing phrases like that. There was always something coming that Astrid couldn't miss or shouldn't miss. Their first session together, right after the hospital, Loonsfoot had said, "No one wants you to miss what comes next." Astrid had said, "What comes next?" And Loonsfoot had said, "You'll have to wait and see." Since then, there hadn't been much reason to ask what was so important that she couldn't miss. There was always something. And there hadn't been a time, recently anyway, where that hadn't been true. For everyone else, maybe, but not for Astrid. Loonsfoot said, wait, and keep waiting. Butterflies, goosebumps. Loonsfoot saying, "You want a magazine or something?" Then, the middle of the room wasn't there anymore. It was a hole to somewhere else. No tower, but the grass, the glowing bulbs, the forest of orange trunked trees topped with mushroom caps and misting the air with silver and gold, which shimmered and shined in the suns. There were two of them, both red and enormous in the pink sky, all of it ringed in an electric blue, pulsing, sparking energy band. Butterflies, still, something else too, better. There was never a better before, not since maybe her big girl bed, or first place at the science fair, Cassie waking her up and it was still dark out and walking her to the window and whispering "snow day" in her ear before watching movies until they fell asleep on the couch under blankets. But no, never this. Then a flash and pain in her arm, her back, the back of her head. There was a smell, grass but smoky, dirt but chalky. Before Astrid opened her eyes, maybe what was in her nostrils was Regis 132, the smells from an alien world, or a world where Astrid was an alien. She'd made it. She sat up, opened her eyes, but there was no more violet grass, no puffs of cloud racing across the real-time time-lapse sky, no tower in the distance, shifting, spinning, changing shape, a thing that wasn't made but just was. Just an Astrid-shaped hole in the front door, splinters of wood, the wind through the new green leaves around the house, the static of traffic on 309 not a half mile away. Loonsfoot yelling something like "Christ on a crutch" or "cheese and crackers" or "Jesus H. Christmas cards" running toward her, framed in a hole Astrid had put through the door. Then she saw it, her arm bent in the wrong direction at the elbow, and everything hurt again. A nub of bone pushing the skin, bright white, a white head ready to burst, haloed in black, purple, green, and yellow. "Can I get you something?" Loonsfoot said. "A cookie or something for your blood sugar?" "I thought you were a doctor," Astrid said, though through the deep, teeth-hissy ache from a fresh injury pain. "But now you've gotten through most of the list, and you should now know that I'm not that kind of doctor either." Loonsfoot had Astrid's cheeks cupped in her palms, kept saying she was okay, she was okay. Astrid wasn't sure who Loonsfoot was talking to with her red face and wide-open eyes and gritty, sweaty skin. The level of concern shouldn't be for Astrid, it couldn't be. "You need to fix this for me," Astrid said through her teeth. Loonsfoot gave her the look everyone gave Astrid when they had to come visit her in the hospital. Wrinkled forehead, eyebrows like a second and third frown, lips pursed, eyes glassy. Like Astrid was stupid and ridiculous. Like she had no idea, really, why she had done what she'd done. Tried to do. She'd had every ounce of clarity and understanding she couldn't have gotten before she did what she did. Why wasn't a question. Stop that, Astrid said. Stop what? That. Fix the face, please. Loonsfoot rolled her eyes, asked Astrid if she could stand. Astrid told Loonsfoot about the bills, the second and third notices, the collection agency threats, minimum wage, Cassie's tips, rent, credit cards. Loonsfoot shushed her and said, "You're not stupid. Does that hideous thing look like a sprainer to you or something?" Gagging a little toward the end of her question. Astrid couldn't stop herself from being pulled to her feet, gave up on trying to pull away from Loonsfoot's grip on her good hand. There was nothing but stars blinking in the corners of Astrid's vision. All over Loonsfoot's maneuvering the radiation vest away from the brake, up and over Astrid's head. On the side of Loonsfoot's car, the interior through the windshield, everything speckled with white. The phone in Loonsfoot's hand said, the phone in Loonsfoot's hand. "Call your mom. She can meet us at the hospital." Astrid pushed her hand away. "Cut the shit, Amy," Loonsfoot said. Stars, constellations glazed on Loonsfoot's face. Silence. Deeper than the moment before the machine blew. Maybe the sound of the dead black of space that thing was supposed to have gored a hole through. Then Astrid said her own name. Loonsfoot shook her head. "That's what I said." The stars were brighter, forced Astrid to blink them away when she reached for her phone or her back pocket with her good arm. Loonsfoot started the car, said nothing, kept her eyes straight ahead, staring and staring. Astrid put the phone to her ear, stitched sentences together in the space between the ringing and the hello. And that's all that is. Look at that.
Give it up for Nick Gregorio.
Thanks.
All right, it's been a wild night here at Nite so far. We're going to take a brief break after these brief messages. Nick, I'm really thirsty. Is there anything to drink here?
Hey guys, come follow me. Let's see what we got. Some milk, cola, purple stuff, Sunny D. All right! Yes!
Scene. All right, we're back. Nick's at Nite.
Now, I'd like to introduce to you Nick Mahalik.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Whew. Wonderful. It's great to see you all. I have become very into novels in verse recently, so I have begun to write one. So that's what I'm going to be reading from, is a novel in verse. And you're going to be caught in like a weird spot, but I think it's a spot where you see a little bit of everything that makes the thing come together. Okay? So there's a guy, our speaker, who has found he is able to sort of like project himself in this particular spot in the world. And that's where he's going. That's where we're going to find ourselves. All right? This is called The Same Creek Twice, or I pronounce it Crick. The Same Crick Twice. I parked in the lot today, drawn to the idea of being loud. I leave the car, walk past the new graffiti, inane phrases written in the familiar dialect of suburban rebellion. I am present, passing hoopless backboards, faded foursquare, and a scar of rock where the trailers used to be. From there, the street lamps fade, the grass goes from green to gray to shadow, then back to green again in the moonlight reflected from the crick. The cell towers rise from behind the trees, candelabra spikes digging into the sky like tridents or props from the Lord of the Rings movies. In the months since the first visit, when I wandered to my elementary school after one too many at the town tavern, followed a dog on a leash like I was one, the Shih Tzu's owner paying me no mind until we got here, to the water, to this bend where the crick widened and the rhythm could be felt, vibrations resonating from the rocks that littered the water where it turned. This was why I stayed, because while the dog owner picked up the pace, turned back toward the light, safety, I fell backward 30 years into the grass, into the arcade of pricker bush and vine, the tight arches of thorns and honeysuckle, forsythia and mulberry bush that you had to fight through to find water. When you finally did find it, back then, necks and arms bloody, itching, the pink of infection already highlighting scratches where you'd fought to find, what was trash? Literal heaps of skull and beer cans, glass bottle Gatorade, and any garbage that had found its way from the roads to the sewer to the creek. The hidden waterway, the adventure to find it, all corrupted and gross. You wade into the creek to your knees, the mud and scum tainting your legs bright browns and greens, the water prismatic and oil slick surrounds you as you survey. The farther you go, the worse it gets, the school grounds ending before you reach the mouth. Yet you trudge back with purpose, a plan. What could be begins to manifest. Birds and amphibians slick with clear ooze, your peers pulling them from mud that no longer stinks, logs no longer lodged in refuse and rebar. You don't notice your friends, their chairs scraping the linoleum as they recoil from the stink coming from your legs and shoes. You formulate your plan. An arsenal of paper bags is all you need, gloves, and pants that could be bagged each day. The last bell rings and you're sat on the bank, the hum of the towers whirring between your eyes. Never gone back to the beginning, you say aloud as your eyes adjust and the moonlight reveals a job 30 years well done. The crystalline crick whispers in a language like Elvish or a gentler Welsh. Never gone to the beginning, you say again. At the volume of the water and sit up, rub your hands and arms to bring back some feeling. There's a bark that shakes you, awakes you from the usual lethargy that comes after these trips. The dog is small and familiar. The owner, who dragged them away earlier, keeps their distance in the dark as your eyes struggle to adjust. You can leave. The words cut the night as you roll to your side, attempt the push-up position, rise from your knees instead. You scan the night, search for the source of a voice you cannot gender. You find them standing between a slant of moonlight splitting the trees and another reflected from the creek. The space between you and them begins to blur, the chiaroscuro blended by an invisible thumb, your charcoal bodies connected by thin tethers of grainy black and gray. The idea that someone else might see you, know what you can do here, near the water and the towers in the past, implants itself and brings the present back into focus. You can leave, they repeat. Wrap the leash once more around their wrist. You wonder if they are asking or telling, but notice an accent and decide to ask where they are from instead. They say they are a gypsy, then correct themselves, say traveler. You nod like you know, like at the dog and its toddler tooth grin. The traveler wraps the leash once more, looks past you toward the towers, the creek, and the past, your face. They nod and you do the same. The dog leads the way for the pair around you and along the water, while you watch and wonder how many travelers have passed you, how many species have observed you under, out here, and walked by unnoticed as you floated between now and then. So, it's followed by home. This is a recurring thing. So home shows up a bunch. The ride was long, silent, a million fractured moments poured over like what one imagines the last seconds of life to be during a traumatic and unexpected end. You can leave. The phrase wrapped me, sank in like venom. Terrible thoughts and daydreams grew from the possibility of what it might mean. Before the first time I lay next to the creek as an adult, existed outside my mind in space and time and mass, gravity and any law. Before I'd been George Bailey, doing it again once more for feeling. A sad sack who needed to be shown a mirror, become a shook one. Before I vibrated out of my skin, kept a skinny rein linked to myself to breathe and relay electricity from the age I knew my name till now. I'd felt a warmth for certain things, objects and decisions, one or the other, highlighted by a soft ring, neither ice nor fire, more a pull or intuition, a primordial understanding that if this, then things would end that way. Once in summer when I was 8 or 9, I dreamt the next day for a week straight. Any game of chance was mine so long as I listened to the omnipotent synesthesia that lived within me. As I pulled into the driveway, the lights burned, Tiffany blues and greens, warming the grass plains of twin doorways to my colonial home. Reading lamps near windows, cracked brass machines with arms that squeaked century-old dust sat, illuminated the back of a head. The warmth from these, a welcome light compared to the harsh LED that hung over the front door, which often met me at this hour, blinded, then plunged into darkness and moonshadow. I felt the back of my skull tingle, an ASMR flashback, skin tightening, and then the familiar release like so many insects of nerve endings, microscopic waves of pleasure. Would I finally tell her about these months of indecision and wonder, kept to myself? Would I let her into this catharsis? What are you trying to do? Her feet up in a lone leather chair, miles from the sofa, the lamp obscuring half her face from the front door, It appeared she wore it as a hat. What's so funny? Are we not men? I ask and hum uncontrollable urge. She squints, explores the space above her head, finds the lampshade and bends the arm back. No longer a pyramidal hat, just a lamp sat atop the radiator, unassuming. She asks about stress and drinking and if this career and year are getting to be too much. I know you love that place. I nod, knowing what comes next. But you can't have a happy place an hour away. I walk over to the couch, sit and wait, elbows on my knees. I know you park and walk around that little town, the courts and tavern, your old school, but you cannot keep hold on a comfort blanket that large and loaded. I know. The words taking the place of a confession, an invitation, a lowered arm's length. I didn't fear she'd think I'd lost it, needed help again. I feared not being able to go back. I was afraid of many things, misadventure most of all. But I did know what she meant. I heard the truth through the white noise pulsing from under doors and monitor screens. School. Work, what it feels like some days when they take that precious thing from you. Time, temporal currency, invaluable yet somehow salaried. We can make no difference without it, spent wisely, justly, the pendulum swing, funds and philosophy, research and resources towards us in the classrooms in the 80s, where I wore the pupil role. The boarding building I visit alive with play and invention, dance and art, the top of the curricular hierarchy, later arrival, recess aides monitoring mulch and concrete 3 times a day. It's like we're going backward, a nod of confirmation, nothing new. We've had this conversation before, so I lasso Dumbo circling the ceiling. Do you ever think about quitting? I ask. Thinking about his kids and mine, health insurance, a career that gives you crow's feet. I think about not quitting. He was good at that, clarifying my seriousness like so much butter in a pan. Each jest a small but definitive crack in the safety glass of the stairwell doors bookending our hall. In our sediment we know things have to get worse before any risk can be taken. That hope and too many other intangibles keep you aloft, a gym class parachute over 35 years. You still have your 7th and I've got my 6th. He brings me back. I rant. And why is it we can't just say drama, public speaking? Because they aren't really that. Because we barely get through poetics and blocking before we have to administer a test, lose another 3 minutes from each period to add another at the end of the day for mindfulness and reflection. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It would be great. It would be wonderful. And I can't help myself. If only it wasn't conducted in the gym, 550 kids giving themselves scoliosis, hiding phones and unconscious reflection to watch the same videos they liked the day before instead of closing their eyes to breathe. And that's that. The next one is thriving. I sit, idle, wait to decide, knowing what this place will become. No matter where I go, another touchstone riverhead with so many tributaries. Home, art, and the crick all call. So I make one. And begrudge grace because things are difficult. But the baby and the boy are fine, nearing sleep, I'm told, but we need to talk tomorrow. I agree. Deep breath, phone in hand, leaves play across the pavement. The last car in the lot, I wait, breathe, let the sun fall. Behind the building, in the chill, I choose a companion piece to bisect the city. And when he drives, he listens to music. And these I created centos for. So this is the new division cento, True Love Will Tear Us Apart. I get this feeling in the shade of the sun, taking different roads, a sudden sense of liberty. Resentment rides high when routine bites hard, and some things got a hold on me. There's a taste in my mouth, replaced by fear as desperation takes hold. I'm in motion, yet there's still this appeal, just something so good, I guess there's just no way of knowing. But love, now that we've grown up together, do you cry out in your sleep? Just can't function no more? And the value of destiny comes to nothing. The chances are we've gone too far. I used to think that the day would never come. True love, love will tear us apart. Is my timing that flawed? The bedroom so cold? True love, love will tear us apart again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nick Mahal. That's a preview of the future. Thank you, Nick Mahalik. Beautiful. You know who I just saw walk in the door about an hour and a half ago? It was Daniel DeFranco. You say, where is he? Dan, show yourself. Oh, there he is. There's that Dan DeFranco. Dan. Would you please regale us with one of your old-timey classic stories?
I think I have something with
You have something with you. Amazing. Dan DeFranco has those. Get him up here, everybody. Get him up here. Very special guest star, Dan DeFranco.
What the fuck is happening? We gotta go old school, folks. Can you put your flashlights on? Whew. This is a true story. It's called Murder House Masquerade. Please refrain from shoplifting in these darkened corridors. These are our friends. They invited you into their shop, all right? A&R from some label was supposed to be at the murder house, but during the first act, the power went out, and bodies fluttered like moths towards the moonlight above ground. Margot never unloaded her car, and the A&R rep never materialized. It collapsed into a night without promise, storm-burdened and undone. Cue the lightning, Nick. The lightning crack. Fucking great. Ian, this is an interactive performance here. I said it. There's three of you. You're the Nick that acted. Ian, who lived at the murder house, a century-old Victorian that had fallen into disrepair, brought out a box of flashlights and handed them to the few hangers-on dripping with rainwater at the top of the cellar door that led down to the basement. Lightning strike, he said. Whole neighborhood's fried again. Margot, lead singer and guitarist of Gloomsday, took a flashlight. She pushed the button. Nothing. She shook it and whacked it against the palm of her palm. On her hand, as her palms are, and the bulb glowed faintly. She held the light under her chin. You think he'll come to another show? Ian said. I thought he'd show up to this one. She lowered the flashlight and turned to go down to the basement. Gloomsday were local heroes. They were the first of their part of the scene to make it across country on tour and actually come back unscathed. Glowing write-ups and zines sparked the interest of the A&R rep. He wanted to see where they came from, where they flourished, in the basements and batting cage venues of Philadelphia. There's still a keg if you're inclined, Ian said to the people sticking around. We can't rock out, but we can still get drunk off of Sunny D. It's so weird that that's in the story and it's what you brought. The few people left at the murder house filled their cups and spread out around the basement, posting up against the brick pillars carrying the weight of the old house. Margot sat cross-legged in front of the drum kit at the back of the basement. The rest of the guys in Gloomsday split. Said they were going to check out Kung Fu Necktie. See who was playing. Let me know. I'll swing by later on. You're staying here? For a little. Ian came over to Margot and sat down. Hey there, lonely girl. That's where you're supposed to clap, but okay. Is this the night? Do you want it to be? Something big should happen. I could use the morale boost. Whatever you think happened here is way better. Compromise. Tell me where. Ian shone his flashlight off to the side, deep in the basement, towards the broken down boiler and furnace. Then down to the stone platform, cracked and lumbering under the tonnage of steel. I think it's back there somewhere, guys. Let's light that up. That's where it is. It's where it happened. It's fucked up. Down here, Margot whispered. Ian sat his flashlight on the ground, pointing it up like a spotlight. Fuck, Margot said. Thought it was in the kitchen or bedroom. That'd be more interesting, Ian said. Still creepy, man. Margot took a drink of her beer. Do you know why she killed him? He pronounced Jif like Gif, and his wife couldn't stand it. Margot's phone buzzed. Her bass player. Power's out here. Dude's got to understand an act of God, right? Ian said. This isn't where the dream dies. I don't want to think about it. Things will happen on their own time. Ian picked up his beer and swallowed the last bit of it. He stood up. Want one? Margot handed over her cup. Margot spotted an acoustic guitar leaning against a sewage pipe, rusted and flaking all over the ground. She crawled over and took the guitar and sat down in front of the drum kit. She wiped off the guitar. Thunder cracked overhead. The house rattled and everyone laughed. Lights bobbed like the ghost of fireflies about the basement. That's your cue, guys. We're fucking there, guys. We're so fucking there. This is great. Margot strummed the guitar and then tuned it. She plucked out a melody in the dark. Two people came over and sat down in front of her. Play a song, one of them said. I don't know why they sounded like that. They probably sounded much cooler. Like, how would you say play a song?
Play a
Play
song.
a song, man.
There you go, great. If that's cool, they added.
If that's cool.
Margot played a Gloomsday song, an upbeat number called Terminator, about a robot that commits suicide when they realize they're not human during a semester abroad. More people came over and sat down around her. When she was done, they clapped from the darkness. Ian brought her a beer and retreated back into the small crowd. He sat on the floor, still sticky in spots with beer from last night's show. He angled his flashlight to shine on Margot. The others followed suit. She began another song, and the rest of the fireflies surrounded and lit her up. She sang another and another. A joint was passed around, and then another and another. That would be the most interesting interactive part of this, I think. The storm thrashed against the house above, but she had seen worse. All right, I'm on the last page here. A loud squeal, and then the sound of engines whirring. Machines jolted on, screamed, and the power was back. And the power was back. Margot stopped her song. She was in the middle of a broken half circle of young people, still damp from outside and dusty from the floor. They covered their eyes.
Turn the fucking lights off!
Ian stood up and killed the power at the breaker box. The house shut down. Everyone cheered. Woo! You guys fucking get it. Thanks for sticking around, Margot said to the darkness. Thank you, someone whispered from the back. Tonight was supposed to be a different night, Margot said. But this is good. This is now. She strummed a chord. Any requests?
Something old.
Something borrowed in blue.
I'll only be Dracula's bride tonight in this tune, Margot said. A voice without a light said,
Play the Smashing Pumpkins!
Smashing is an adjective. Hold on, I think I've got something. Silence. Margot retuned the guitar. She closed her eyes. From the back of the basement, she could be seen surrounded by silhouettes and lights, stretching her shadow large against the pillars of amplifiers, mounds of drum, and wall behind her. The world is a vampire.
Is a vampire. Send the drain.
Thank you, Danny. It's me. Misread it? Hold on. All right. Thank you. That was a beautiful one. Thank you, Nick Mahalik. Again, my name is Nick Perilli. I have a few stories to read for you. Did everyone get a sticker? Hold on. Alex, could you get me my stickers? Are they back behind up there? They're important for this. I should have. Did everyone take a sticker? You get a free sticker. This is commemorating Nick's at Night, season 82, I think we said.
Yeah.
In the future, this will be us then.
So what we look like?
That is exactly what we look like. You can use your imagination to wonder who is in the middle and who is to the left, who is to the right. I like to think that Nick Gregorio is in the middle because he is very regal and he is the tallest of the skeletons. So please take one, pass it around. I think there's another pack there. Yeah. Take him, pass it around. If you want one, take it. So please come back for that. Bring your dead bodies back.
Don't bring your dead body.
No, bring them here. Bring them right here on this spot. When there's a Pennsylvania, one of those blue things out here that says a novel idea from blank 2018 to 2065.
Bring out your dead.
Novel idea was on this site. Now it's a creative. Skeleton crew. These skeletons met me. 3 skeletons met me at the mouth of my grave. They made fun of my rotting flesh and the half rat-eaten clothes that hung from my body. I ignored it like a kid on his first day at a new school. They fell right apart after I introduced myself and asked them how they met. A sore subject, it seemed. They attended the same school, had the same exact first name, and each played in the marching band. They gripped that otherwise tenuous connection hard, strangled it for life, and then unlife. It was greatly difficult for them to reassemble, and it would take a while. As they parsed through their bones, the 3 skeletons realized they couldn't tell each other apart anymore, and began to share a femur here or a coccyx there. It didn't matter which of them it belonged to, not anymore. Before I shuffled off to meet a hanged ghost at a nearby crooked tree, I asked them their name. Their blank skulls turned to me, and the same foggy, forgetful wheeze escaped from their jaws. That's that one, based on that sticker. Visual with the written. And I have a little short story, a little short piece of fiction as well. Recently had a baby. I did not have a baby. My wife had a baby. This was written as I was holding her at like 3 a.m. No sleep during her newborn phase. Kill me. Why did I write that? No. Sorry. This is called Monitor. This time, like the last, Paul and Rose took their time to answer the door for Jacob, who held a gift bag containing a rattle, another card, and a burp rag for his best friend's new daughter. Paul and Rose, looking tired and holding each other up by their arms, smiled as much as they could muster. "I'm so sorry, Jacob," Paul said in a hushed voice. "Hannah is sleeping right now." He guided Jacob into their darkened home, towards the video baby monitor on the coffee table. "But we can just watch baby TV again." Jacob dropped his gifts to the carpeted floor. He chewed on the inside of his cheek until it bled. "I really wanted to see her this time, Paul. Every single time." "We know, Jake," Paul said. "But when the baby naps, we must let her nap. Let's watch her on the monitor together, huh? Talk about old times." His eyes were heavy with dark bags. Rose nodded. "She wiggles when she dreams," she said. Jacob shoved Paul into the living room. He bolted upstairs and towards the nursery door, the colorful adhesive rainbow letters spelling Hannah at the end of the hall guiding his way. The couple gave chase. Rose stopped him before he made it to the knob, instinct gripping Jacob's squirming wrist. Jake, she said in a raised whisper, digging into him. "What are you doing?" The monitor's screen switched from day to night vision, even though it was early afternoon and a bright sun shone on Hannah's nursery windows. Paul brought the monitor upstairs with him. This close to the nursery, Jacob heard the shushing of a digital woman playing over an iPad. Her voice ethereal, yet filled with phlegm. "Does she even exist, Rose?" Jacob spoke at a normal volume. "Is there anything even in there?" He felt the door. It was ice cold. The couple didn't post images on their socials. None of the mutuals who had come to meet her would say anything about Hannah to Jacob other than, she's adorable. People change, Jacob, Rose said. We're changing, drifting apart. It's natural, necessary. That's all this is. No, Jacob said, leaning against the wall. Not us three. He sniveled. Paul brought the monitor close to Jacob's face. Hannah wiggled in her crib. She did it again, in the exact same way according to Jacob's eyes, and again. He notched the monitor away and kissed Paul on the lips with half the passion he had left. He reached for Rose next. They both tasted of milk and blood. He crushed the monitor under his foot, stomping 3 times to get the job done, louder and much harder than needed. The 3 of them, in a dwindling embrace, awaited the wails of an infant. This is my book, Cul-de-sac, available here, available wherever, but only here. Let's say only here tonight. This is the only place you can buy it. Cover. It's a weird book about a boy who wakes up in his cul-de-sac and things have gone dark, and he goes on a journey from there. Another sticker story in here. There it is. This is a sticker that I had made to commemorate the book. A little flashy, a little shadow man. I dredged up a very old piece of flash fiction that I wrote. It was kind of the influence of cul-de-sac, kind of where it started way back when. I have sleep paralysis, or I used to have sleep paralysis, still do, but, and you see demons, and this is kind of my shadow demon that I would see while I was growing up. And I kind of wrote this way back in college. And that was kind of the impetus where cul-de-sac started. So I'll read that for you now. It's called The Obsidian Man. At my window, while I flitted between sleep and wake, I found a man standing there, gazing towards my street. I must have been young, but he was certainly old. His body was skinless, freshly so, but instead of blood, he was filled with shadow. When he knew my eyes watched him, he introduced himself as my father, never looking away from the new world outside my window. My dad slept in the other room, did he not? No, son, the man said, responding to a thought. His voice dripped black onto my floor. I'm here, of course. How can I be anywhere else? His form grew. A mother, a brother, or a sister banged on my door. They told me stories of my father to keep me in my bed, but I was out of it already, grasping the hand of the obsidian man and dripping into the space outside my windows. That's that little piece. Way back in. Did a little editing for tonight. Anyone, I'm gonna throw a sticker into the audience. Let it fall. Let it sit there. No, you can take it. You can take it. It's yours. It would just be funnier if nobody wanted it. And now I'll end with a tiny little snippet from my book, Cul-de-sac. This is when, outside in the cul-de-sac, it's another world. It's pulled into the underworld, into an absurd sort of limbo called the outside. Shit's weird down there. Things happen. This is when they see a bit of lightning. This is kind of towards the end. This is kind of a really good kind of thesis statement for the book, I think, and the main character, who's just called the boy throughout. The boy blinked. When he opened his eyes, everyone stared up into the sky as if their life's purpose was to stare upwards. Even the figure, even Mira had stopped on the steps to her porch to gaze into the red. Was that lightning? Mrs. Bell asked. Gorgeous, Ryan said. And he never used the word gorgeous as far as the boy could remember from both his and Ryan's memories bouncing around in his head. The figure relaxed with a slight smile on its face. The boy watched its bone chin moving underneath the shadow. Well, the lightning on this side of matter expresses the root system between our realities. The what? The boy said. I missed it. I can't explain it more than that. The figure sighed. It's above me. Mrs. Bell gave the boy a comforting look, sympathetic, pitying. It's really something you have to see with your own eyes. Ryan had his hand on his forehead. His eyes widened. like his world had just opened up to him and winked before sharing its divine secrets. Will it happen again? The boy asked. The figure chuckled. That's the first time I have ever seen it, and I've been here for years. Millennia? It spoke casually now, like a veritable human. It liked to cross its arms and pick at its ribs, take pieces of the flexible ceramic skeleton hanging off him and chuck them away. The figure fidgeted. It lost its place in sentences for a beat where it would place an or an ah. When it coughed, as it so often would, the reflex sounded less hollow, less otherworldly, but still terrible. The blue in the figure's eyes had faded enough to pronounce the human pupils underneath, peeking out as if behind a convincing Halloween mask. This house, the figure said, stretching its neck out, is just your basic whatever. Nothing to note, really. Ryan and Mrs. Bell, who sought something of substance after missing out on the House of Science and some of the others, couldn't conceal their disappointment. They looked at the boy like he had let them down. Mrs. Bell delicately placed her orb containing a universe in the front garden beside a flower pot and an old stone rabbit that had been tipped over for ages, before shuffling in with most of the group. The boy lingered outside. He stayed there, looking up in the sky for more lightning until he felt some futility in his chest. The gleam of Mrs. Bell's marble universe caught his eye, so he snatched it off the cradling ground and pocketed it with discarded eyes. Souvenirs, he thought, for whenever this was over, no harm, no foul. He entered the brick home. A flash of lightning behind him cast his shadow into the foyer as he did, but at least no one else even saw it that time. Expresses roots between realities and all that. He could tell all the others that he saw them, and he would at his earliest convenience. Mira watched him from her porch. And that's just a tiny, tiny little bit. Lots in there, marble universes. What's that about? Let's discover by reading Trident Press. But that's my time. That's all I have for you this evening. We have enough room for both of us. All of us. All right. Nick, Nickelodeon.
All right. I didn't know we were hitting the high notes.
I know we're harmonized. We're harmonized.
We're just trying. We're trying.
Nick.
Good.
Nick's are here as Mega Nick.
Nick are here. Put your heads together. The Knicks will share that sweat. We will all be
unified
sweaty.
sweat.
You
We
guys
feel
saw it
it.
earlier. It's
We
weird.
feel it. Are the Knicks in tune?
Yeah, I think so.
Ready to go.
I was feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Look with your third eye into the audience. Are we agreed on who we would like to speak to this evening?
Yes.
We are. You don't need to audibly.
Sorry.
I can feel it.
We're yelling
I
at
didn't
you.
know.
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse all that.
No, we didn't rehearse.
Sorry.
We didn't have time. We're busy.
Kids.
It's
Lives. It's weird.
our kids. They're our kids. The Nick. The combined Nick calls Stephanie Feldman to the stage.
To this tiny chair, actually.
To
this
this
stool.
tiny chair.
I'm so nervous.
Stephanie Feldman is the author of Saturnalia, an award-winning book. She is an amazing author. The Nick does not have her bio in front of him right now. Him's right now.
Just buy Saturnalia.
By
It's over
Saturnalia,
there.
a wonderful book.
Based in Philadelphia.
We have all knowledge.
We see all.
We see everything. We see that Saturnalia is an amazing work of fiction. We have read it. Stephanie, are you prepared for the Nick to ask you one question?
Yes.
The first of 3 questions. 3 riddles?
Yes. I'm ready.
First question. There are no Nicks in your book Saturnalia, unless we are mistaken, but we are never mistaken.
Not when it comes to next.
Not when it comes to Nicks.
Is that a question?
Hold on. We are pondering. Channeling. The Nick would like to know, What goes into a name for you? Nina, Max, are these pulled from your life, or or are they just pulled from whim?
The guy you met.
The guy you met, somebody like that? And
Yeah.
what is the worth of a name in writing fiction to you? What is it? What is its purpose and function and form?
Oh, wow. I just pick a name if it sounds good. So I don't really have a deep answer to that, but you should probably be happy that there's no Nick in the book because a lot of the dudes need some tough ends.
That's fair.
That's the
Fair.
only insight I can give you.
That is fair, but the Nick would like representation even if they meet a violent end. For any writers out there, please,
I'll
Include
put
a Nick.
I'll put a Nick in the next one.
thank you. That is all the Nick. That is all the
Amazing.
Nick asks.
That's one thing, it's representation.
Representation.
The Nicks need to see Nicks in order to be the best Nick they can be.
Brings the
That is
Nick out
true.
of
It
us.
brings the
true.
Nick
Yeah.
right out of it.
It's incredibly Nickish.
Absolutely.
Bunch of nicks.
3 Nicks gets very Nickish. Second question.
Mm. Mm.
While researching secret societies, particularly in Philadelphia, how many Eyes Wide Shut-esque societies did you come across? Sub-question. How many of these societies folded immediately after Alan Dom tried to join?
I actually did do some research on Philadelphia specific secret societies, and I wrote about it in Hidden City. And my thesis was that Philadelphia, the origins of Philadelphia are all in secret societies, and Ben Franklin was in all of them. As you would guess, if there was one founding father who would worm his way into every secret society, it would be Ben Franklin. There's still some secret societies today, and also just a lot of clubs for rich people.
Eyes Wide Shut-esque?
I don't know because I'm not rich,
Right.
so I haven't made my way in yet.
See.
I'll report back.
After the success of Saturnalia catapults you to that status.
Yeah,
Report back, please.
writing books is my get-rich scheme, so I'm well on my way.
How's it
One there
going?
is.
Yeah, I mean I haven't thought of any other ones, but
The Nick is pleased with that response.
Please.
Third question. Stephanie, which Nick is best? The answer is obvious, but I ask to see if you are as astute an observer of greatness as you are an excellent wordsmith. Your answer.
Well,
The Nick trembles.
I mean, the Knicks have merged into a Nick that is greater than the sum of its Knicks. And we tonight are in the presence of the greatest Nick that has ever nicked. And we should all be very grateful for that.
I appreciate your answer, however it is incorrect, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, what's the right answer?
Who do you think's talking right now?
Oh, the tallest Nick.
That's right.
Wait, are you the tallest Nick? Wait, can we line up the Nick?
The Nick is the tallest Nick. We are we are at least 15 feet high.
There's just 3 Nicks on each other's shoulders with a trench coat.
Yes.
There's many Nicks.
If we stood up right now, you would feel so small.
There's a bunch of tiny Nicks inside these Nicks as well, which gets
That gets, yes. And they all
are grateful for your
are
response.
grateful today. Thank you, Stephanie Feldman. Wait. Do you have any questions for the Nick? Does anybody have any questions for the Nick that you would like to take
Well, I'm humbled
this
before the
opportunity?
Nick.
When's the album coming out?
Nicks at Night? View 2.0?
We're still noodling with it. We're still in the studio.
We got our mixes weren't coming back the way we wanted.
No.
There's no floor time, and I'm getting very frustrated by it. But that's
Little
a whole nother-
tinny.
Yeah, little.
You don't need a floor time.
That's a whole nother marching guy over here, Johnny Snare Drum.
We need a full marching band. I've told the studio.
This is where the contention lies. So
And they
thank you
need to
for
fit
bringing that
into
up.
the studio.
Yeah. Studio's
In
a
full
10 by 10
regalia.
space.
Regalia.
It's a 10 by 10.
Full regalia! Thank you for that question. Are there any more? We are
I'm
sweating.
so hot.
We are hot. We are hot. You're wearing
jacket was
leather.
what
No,
Scarf
you're
was
wearing
a strong-
jacket
leather.
was an
We are wearing
accessory,
leather.
not-
Sweater and scarf was a strong choice.
We are wearing leather, and we draped this over you. Snuggle it. Any more questions before the Knicks decide if they would like to disassemble from one another,
Like so
or
many Legos.
like so many
You
Legos?
should just get one big shirt.
Question.
Why is the Sunny D out of the bottle?
Oh, sir. I'll tell you later. Help yourself. It's a delicious 90s beverage. Come back to life.
Resurrected.
A question.
Yeah.
Which Nick at Night show best represents each Nick in the trio of Nick?
Let us ponder for a moment which show represents us as one. And let's say it at the same because we will not say the same thing.
Dragnet.
Was Dragnet even on?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Wonder Years.
Friends! It was on.
It was.
Yeah,
You're right.
Three
You're
different
right.
generations of Nick at Night.
My three dads.
Good. I like it. Mork and Mindy would have been mine.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm working many. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. For the link button.
I loved Get Smart. I don't know how that applies to me,
I literally almost.
but Get Smart was great.
Yeah, the pinch nose.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I was a huge fan of Bewitched. I feel like all the Darrens, there were two Darrens.
Yeah.
I like the hotter Darren.
Who didn't?
Which one
Who
was that?
didn't?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Whichever one you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I know which one you're
Pretty
And you're
good.
wrong!
The Nick has spoken.
thinking.
Great question.
Any last question? One more question we will take.
Final question.
Final question.
Can anyone find you a genie?
Find us a genie?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. You'd think with the Nickish power that's in this room right now, we'd be able to locate a genie.
I don't know, man.
I was looking at that bottle up there and I was like, oh my God, has it been strategically placed above the t-shirts?
If
I think
we,
there might be a
does
genie
look
in
like
there.
the bottle.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe if we do rub that bottle, something will come out.
yeah.
Sweet dust.
And we will do it tonight.
Yeah. See what happens.
You had a question.
So if Tonic is Corey Matthews, then who are the other Knicks in Boy Frog?
Oh, Ryder Strong.
You're right, it's strong.
Yeah, I was gonna take it.
Oh, shit. I am Jonathan Turner, Sean's mentor. He disappears after a while.
Roommate at one point?
Not roommate.
Yeah.
No, his teacher. Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
they live together.
But like a father-son dynamic.
Right, of
Yeah,
course.
but if you were
no
still
one was implying
roommates.
anything.
And if you live in a room with somebody, they're your
Yeah,
roommate.
that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
weird way to say it.
It was odd. It was odd.
I don't know.
Staying with him. Probably did.
Oh yeah, trouble, his house drove away.
It's true.
His father
did.
went after his mother, that took the house.
That's true.
The continuity errors in that show are
Outrageous.
insanely I can't even, and I love it, and I'm just so angry at the same time.
The Nick recently researched a lot of Boy Meets World, and it is strange that Jonathan Turner disappears after helping Sean get out of a cult, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And he's
Well, no,
just
we didn't
gone.
even help him get out of a cult. He
What?
wasn't in that episode. He just was in a motorcycle
Yeah, and
accident. I'm
he's
so
hurt.
pissed.
The Nick is
Upset.
upset. Next, do we want to decouple, or do we want to stay like this for the rest of our lives?
I'm so
I think
hot.
we got on Snap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, Nick.
Nickelodeon.
All right, we've had a lot of fun here tonight. If we could get the lights for a moment. Oh, are you blinded now? Are you blinded? Okay. We're all just going to take a moment to decompress. I know the Knicks and I need to decompress because we've seen things inside each other's heads that are horrible. And I'm going to need a moment. I'm going to need therapy, probably, to get through it. We're all just going to take a moment to reflect on our time here tonight. Oh, he has to do a wardrobe change. Shit. We could pop the lights back on, actually. I forgot how long that would take.
You're right.
It's going to take a long time.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm fairly hot.
We can listen to Nick Russell.
Yeah. Maybe pee.
I hope not. I hope not. That's in the, this is all being recorded.
Oh, good.
So,
I'm glad I said that when we're recording it.
so we're going to take a brief break.
Don't be peeing?
Are you? Are you?
No, not peeing.
Oh, good.
That's
No.
the plan.
This was all planned. This vamping.
This is part of the show.
is part of the show.
You gotta vamp sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta. I vamped already once tonight. Can we hit the lights again?
Did you get it? You need help?
Orson!
Yes, Mark.
Calling Orson!
Hello, Mark.
Hello, sir. This week I learned what it's like to make art on Earth. You see, Earthlings all make things when they're small, but only some continue to make things once they become adults.
Do the others become sick?
No, sir. In fact, the ones who continue to make art are often seen as having some sort of disease or weird illness.
How strange.
Indeed. Stranger still is the necessity for this art because adults and Earthlings of all shapes and sizes have similar experiences, shared life that they need to process. And when they give up making art or creating things, they look to these artists to interpret the world around them and make sense of it for them.
These artists, Earthlings, must be worshipped among their people.
They absolutely are. And scene.
And
Thank you
scene.
very much, everybody. That was Mark. That was Mark from Mark.
I was
Just my.
Mark.
It wouldn't go. I was very good. Just one snap.
Yeah. We did well.
You did a great job. Yeah. What I heard.
I think we thank you all for coming to
Thanks.
Nick's at Night season.
Thank you very much. We made it worthwhile. Please,
Buy something from the store.
yes, just show some patronage to these wonderful people who have allowed us to put on this weird thing.
Thank you, Daniel DeFranco. Thank you, Stephanie Feldman, for being part of it.
Franco.
Join us for season 3 next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't be skeletons. That's the biggest thing that we
That's
can
the
hope
thing.
for.
We're all journeying towards that. We're next.
Next.
Never end. I think we do next time. Maybe shoulders.
Just get the biggest trench coat possible.
Work out our legs. Work out the wall.
Everybody. How do you possibly make that suggestion? And that is,
Then I'm going to be the bottom.
That weird Nick experiment.
You didn't?
Good job.
Thank you, Nick, for coming out.
I did. What was we wanted to